One guy, like Jamie said before, dangles the Lamborghini keys in the bar. You want to come out and see my Lamborghini? The second guy goes out to the valet and sees the girl and it's like, well, I'm homeless. I'm going to walk home to my homeless shelter or whatever. And then a Lamborghini pulls up and he gets into it. The second one generates mystery, attraction. He didn't feel the need to qualify himself. He said he was homeless. It was funny. He was self-deprecating. The first guy is clearly low status and is trying to make up for it by qualifying. Here's one thing. So there are 2 Ivy League researchers that are on the MOA staff now. I won't say what schools they are because they don't want to be associated with me, but they work for us now. And one of them sent me over an incredible study, which I'm going to show you, which goes over self-deprecating humor. And guess what? It says self-deprecating humor when a guy has high status actually makes him more attractive. Self-deprecating humor when a guy is low status makes him less attractive. How crazy is that? So what does that mean? I can be vulnerable and self-deprecating if you're already attracted to me. But if you're not attracted to me, if I'm a homeless, smelly dude coming up to you, telling you my whole problems, that doesn't make you physiologically sexually stimulated by me just because I told you my vulnerability. So the thing is, you need attraction first. Attraction is the prime directive. Getting women to be sexually stimulated and attracted to you is the prime directive before you lace in this vulnerability and all these other things. So that's the thing. Attraction comes before comfort. You say attraction, arousal, the whole mystery method, attraction, comfort, seduction. Attraction comes before comfort. If comfort comes first, you're her gay best friend. If attraction comes first, you can be her friend or you guys can take it into a romantic place, but attraction has to come first.
If guys say too much, it removes the mystery.
For sure.
So let the girl's imagination do her thing. Don't rob her of that.
What you're saying, absolutely, Monica, is a man qualifying himself, feeling the need. Right. Again, I want you to consider 2 different things and see if this makes sense to you. If this doesn't make sense to you, you don't understand the mechanisms of attraction. One guy, like Jamie said before, dangles the Lamborghini keys in the bar. You want to come out and see my Lamborghini? The second guy goes out to the valet and sees the girl and it's like, well, I'm homeless. I'm going to walk home to my homeless shelter or whatever. And then a Lamborghini pulls up and he gets into it. The second one generates mystery, attraction. He didn't feel the need to qualify himself. He said he was homeless. It was funny. He was self-deprecating. The first guy is clearly low status and is trying to make up for it by qualifying. What qualification means for a man is you feel low status, so you use words to make yourself seem high status.
Like name dropping.
Correct. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I'm going to name drop my Apple Watch that's 2 generations older and my 122,000 miles I have on my Lexus IS250 that I bought 10 years ago. That's how I'm going to name drop. Again, you don't need these things if you understand charisma, humor, pre-selection, social proof, scarce networks, locations, relevancy, competency, not fucking reading. Okay, that's the difference. Understand what evolutionary attraction triggers are. There's data on this. Most of you don't want to read it for some reason.
Open up. It's just that I'm a man and, we're supposed to hold these things in. Look, I'm not going to see you any differently. I'm here for you. Do you really mean that? Yes, I'm really here for you. All right. Well, it all started when my pet tortoise, I thought he could swim.
Wow, this guy really is gay. He's such a little bitch. Huh.
We laugh at it, but it is kind of a trap. Like I've seen my guy friends do this several times. It's like, I just saw the psychologist saying that I need to open up to my girlfriend. And they open up to the girlfriend, the girl's gone in like a week. There is a burden for us where we, like, if we are hypersensitive, that's why I tell guys, find a group of guys that you trust. Like for instance, when we do our calls for Men of Action, if a guy comes on and it's generally having to do something with some difficulties in divorce, having to do with alimony, and the main one is child custody, we turn the recording off and the guy, he expresses his emotions in a safe place because we're not going to leave him or abandon him. We've gone through the same thing. I've just seen, and maybe it's some women that are just not emotionally immature enough to deal with the fact that their man is being expressive, even though she's asking for it, and then she leaves him for the same reason. And that ends up becoming a problem. That's why that video is so funny.
He probably shouldn't be in that relationship though. Like if you can't be honest with your partner, this is not like a casual hookup, but this is somebody who you were in a relationship with. If you can't be vulnerable and honest with them, like probably shouldn't be with that person.
You can still be vulnerable and honest and not be like, oh my God, my pet turtle died and I just don't know. Like, and everybody just keeps cheating on me and I'm a victim. And it was like, that's not good for a relationship. It just isn't good.
Right.
It's called stoicism. I want you to think about it like this. So I'm being told to be more expressive. Now, all of a sudden, your house is on fire, and inside your house are your pets, your children are in your house, your spouse is in your house. When the firemen show up, do you need them to be expressive? What look would you expect to see on their face? The look of seriousness, urgency, perhaps?
I want a stoic.
You want a stoic
fireman.
man to go handle this and to go run in and save your family or whatever, and pull your your cat and your family out or whatever. You want stoic men to handle these problems. Stoic men carved out a cubbyhole of safety. Washington, D.C. used to be a swamp. Stoic, strong men went and cut down the trees. They went and created society for us to live in a safe place, for people like Mia Khalifa to say stupid shit about how it's better to do porn than to join the military, because at least when I do porn, I wasn't giving my body to the government. She can say stupid shit like that because she's in a free country. She's not in Lebanon anymore, where she can say stuff like that because men who were very, very violent in the military she's complaining about fought for her right to say this ignorant shit. By the way, I'm not opposed to her saying it. I don't think she should be canceled, because one of the best things about freedom of speech is hearing other people's ignorance, hearing other people's stupidity, getting to a debate and the guy starts admitting he's a flat earther. Okay, now I know who won the debate. Like, it's very clear. So like, that's the thing that's really important.
Vulnerability only works if your predominant character is more stoic or more alpha, right?
Yeah,
the thing is that, like, especially like if you're in a long-term relationship, even if you're not, if that guy is perceived as being in control all the time, is the master of his own fucking world, has really rock solid frame, is not as very emotional, is very pragmatic, is very empirical. When those rare flashes of emotion come from that guy, that woman believes that she's the only person, she's the only woman on planet fucking Earth that can draw that out of this guy. And then he goes back because let that one shining little moment, he would never do this for anyone else on planet Earth except for her. That's when it's like Jane tames Tarzan. It's Lois Lane turns Superman into Clark Kent for half a second, and then he goes back to being Superman again. The thing is like, I think the biggest problem most people have with, well, most guys have with vulnerability is they constantly get barraged by women or even guys saying, oh, vulnerability is a strength. It's like, no, that's fundamentally diametrically not what the definition of vulnerability is, you dumb fuck. It is a weakness, and you're showing that weakness at that time. What you're doing is transvaluation, right? Transvaluation is making like one thing into a diametric opposite, right? And so by doing so, you're saying, okay, you just need to open up. No, because men are men and women are women. We don't process emotions the same way. We do not physically possess the same hardware in our brains that women do. So to expect that guy to learn or be conditioned to emote more like a woman, what happens is that woman's hindbrain and her the brainstem there interprets that as he's a chick. He is unsafe. And you do that often enough, and now it's like, I'm not with a guy, I'm with one of my girlfriends. That's why I keep saying, like, women have boyfriends and girlfriends. If you're not fucking her, then you are her girlfriend. Not because that's, it's about the sex thing. It's about how her brain interprets how you relate to her and how you communicate with her. If you communicate with her as if you are a female, the brain picks up on that and says, I'm dealing with a female.
Let me make one pretty massive caveat, because I think there's a misunderstanding when it comes here. What we're saying is not to be vulnerable for people who didn't earn it. If there's somebody who like again, if Rollo came to me with a serious problem, or if my brother came to me with a serious problem, you wrote the Rational Male series because your brother-in-law took his own life. We're not talking, we're talking about first date with a girl. Stop crying on the first
vulnerability
date.
is not gay.
Yes, that's
crying on the first.
Yes, that's the problem. Letting her know massive amounts of intent, letting her know how attracted you are to her, and then being vulnerable.
Game.
Exactly, they think vulnerability is game.
That's why the women don't want to go out with you guys. Quit fucking crying on the first date.
So because I need to make this caveat very importantly. Okay, so not this last Monday, but the Monday before that, Marshawn Nealon, the defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys, he scored his first touchdown, and 2 days later took his own life. He was in a cart. He started writing his family members, telling them goodbye. His girlfriend called the police to do a wellness check on his house. He was already in his car. He was driving 160 miles an hour, and then went off into a field and took his own life. The reason why I bring this up is there's a couple things here. Two of the guys that are on the team, Solomon Thomas and Dak Prescott, are huge mental health advocates because both of them had a sibling who also took their own life. And so in those cases, what I'm talking about is if you are having suicidal ideation, 100% you should seek help. That is not what we're discussing here. What we're talking about is first date, first day on the job. People you don't know that well do not need to have this level. You do not need to have this level of vulnerability. You need to understand different circles of people that you can trust and be around. And there's also professional therapists that you can talk to. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. None of us have ever said that that was the issue. There are cases where you're dealing with actual clinical depression. You're actually dealing with actual bipolar disorder, and it's outside of your control. That's not the majority of the population, but some of you guys are dealing with that. For those of you who are dealing with that, absolutely go and seek help. What we're saying is your last 3 girlfriends cheated on you. Don't bring that up in the first fucking date. That's what we're saying.
I'll also say something too. Women could do with saying less. You're a woman and your last 3 boyfriends cheated on you. You don't need to bring that up on the first date either.
But I will say,
men can say a little more. and women can say a little less.
I
in
will
my
say
opinion.
this: women can do a lot of things wrong on the first date and still get a second date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, you know, we have the pussy, so we have the power.
Okay. Well,
Oh,
thank you.
no, not really. I mean,
Thank you, Andrew Tate. Thank you for coming on the show.
I don't necessarily think with that though, but also with vulnerability, I actually had a close friend of mine. I told him not to tell this chick too much about himself, and he started dating her in like March and started getting serious. And then it's like, you know, when you tell someone too much about yourself too, even when the relationship is fresh, you're like giving this person a blueprint of how to fuck you over.
There's that. I mean, that's kind of a cynical way to look at it. Most people, I don't think, are going to fuck you over. But here's one thing.
I've seen it.